Okay, so welcome to this episode of 7 Minute Expert. I have with us Shabbos Kestenbaum, who has been a Bernie bro and is now a Trump supporter. And he actually, in fact, campaigned for Trump. So we could take a look at that clip now.
But tonight, we fight back. I am proud to support President Trump's policies to expel foreign students who violate our laws, harass our Jewish classmates, and desecrate our freedoms. Let's elect a president who will instill patriotism in our school once again. Let's elect a president who will confront terrorism and its supporters once again. Let's elect a president who recognizes that although Harvard and the Ivy Leagues have long abandoned the United States of America, the Jewish people never will, because Jewish values are American values, and American values are Jewish values. God bless the United States. God bless the land of Israel. God bless, protect, and return the American hostages in Gaza now.
So, Shabbos, what made you come over to the Trump team from Bernie? What changed?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And more importantly, thank you for everything you've been doing on your end, not just for the Jewish community, but for the American people as well. Look, I always say I was a registered Democrat the day I turned 18. I campaigned and voted for Bernie Sanders twice. I'm happy to compare my progressive credentials any day of the week. It's really, as Ronald Reagan said, not that I abandoned the Democratic Party, but really that the Democratic Party abandoned me. So I remember very vividly testifying in front of the House Judiciary Committee a year ago. I did not mention the word Israel once. I was there to strictly talk about the anti-Semitism and the anti-Americanism that ultimately Jewish students are seeing on their college campuses, seeing American flags being burnt, having staff members threaten students, having their libraries and classrooms being locked out to Jewish or Zionist students. And as I was giving this testimony, the ranking member, Democrat Jerry Nadler, falls asleep. We as Jewish students were lied to by then Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer about him bringing the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act to a Senate vote on the floor about the Deterrent Act. And at a certain point, we have to stop being taken for granted. And we went to the Biden administration, we went to the Kamala Harris campaign and said, look, why don't you meet with Jewish students? And they refused to do it. Trump and the Trump campaign consistently were meeting and listening to the constituencies that they wanted to earn their trust. So I helped accompany President Trump to the grave of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I was invited as well with numerous Jewish students to talk about their issues and what they had been experiencing. And if the Democratic Party don't want to give us the time of day, then fine, but we're not going to be taken for granted. So that is the crux of why it is I've sort of switched on over. It's not because my fundamental political positions have changed, but it's simply because the Democratic Party has been taken over by a hostile anti-American and anti-Semitic base that is not concerned about the core issues that the American Jewish community experiences.
So off of what you're saying, I'm curious to know, how did you first get involved in terms of if somebody else is watching this and they're a student? We've been working together, obviously, in some of these issues. I've been a little bit more behind the scenes, but how would somebody get involved in and taking care of issues that they think are very important to the entire country? How does one get involved in American politics with the Republican Party? How would one get active?
As Nike says, just do it. You do not possess any intellectual skill that others do not. We do not have some secret untapped wisdom. We were college students. We were not giving primetime speeches before. We were not on national television. We were just students, and we had a lived experience, and we simply spoke about it. And if I can do that, if you can do that, then certainly anyone listening can be able to do just as well, if not a heck of a lot better. But the fundamental point here is that people have to speak out. They have to be active. And while I cannot guarantee what the end result will be, what I can guarantee is by you doing something, something will change. Something will be different than had you not said something. But ultimately, it is to simply get involved. And certainly in the American Jewish community, we do not have enough young people, especially young people on campuses, who are speaking out or doing much of anything. And that's why, really, through this dearth, through this void of voices, many, many individuals have been able to rise to the occasion.
I think that's exactly right. And so in terms of exactly what happened to me, I had no prior experience in this area. I just reached out to a couple of different people in Congress, set up meetings, and Jewish Students for America was born. And we've been obviously engaging with Congress ever since. And we've connected on these issues with many other students. So some of the issues that we've been working on together, you alluded to the Deterrent Act. What is that act and why is it important?
Sure. So, as most Americans know at this point, there are anti-democratic, anti-Semitic, and anti-Western countries, Russia, China, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, that are really influencing and shaping the minds of young Americans. They are funneling hundreds of millions of dollars annually into American institutions of higher learning. So what the Deterrent Act would do, and there are similar bills being proposed as well, including one from Representative Goldman, I believe, titled the No Foreign Contributions Act, and it would essentially say that if you are a hostile country or you're a foreign adversary, we are going to regulate the amount of foreign funding, number one, that you can give to those American institutions, and number two, we will actually regulate the reporting mechanism. So why is that important? Yale University would report annually that they received roughly $16 to $20 million from Qatar. It turns out they were underreporting that amount by $25 million.
Yep.
So we do not have any reason to trust American institutions of higher learning when they report how much money they receive, because the only person who's holding them accountable are themselves. So the Deterrent Act would be a really good first step in terms of regulating and creating some type of accountability for these institutions. But like most good things, they were killed by then Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. And we are very hopeful that we can restart this process under the new administration and under new leadership with the Republicans, both in the House and in the Senate.
So I couldn't agree more. I mean, obviously, I had a lot of those conversations with the different Senate offices, and they were putting it really on Chuck Schumer. And we're quite excited now that they're out of power and that the Republicans have the majority. We're very optimistic in terms of moving legislation like the Deterrent Act forward. Hopefully, Congress will begin to work on those issues soon. I know that also Senator Marco Rubio, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, has spoken a lot about the foreign students either who are on visas or who are illegal, who are supporting Hamas, which is a violation of the Immigration Nationality Act. And they're deportable for those reasons. And obviously, if you're an illegal, you're deportable anyway. So the AG, Pam Bondi, has also promised to prosecute those students. So what have you seen on the ground in terms of the Trump administration? Are we going to get movement on that? And if we are going to get movement on that, how can students on their campuses help report people who are violating the Immigration Nationality Act and supporting terrorism on campuses, or even faculty or people generally in the streets that are violating the act and making our country less safe?
Well, let me first validate what you said, which is foreign students on a foreign visa, as you just said, who support terrorism, who support terrorist acts, or who've committed violations of federal law, they're inadmissible, number one, into this country. But number two, under the INA, they should be deported. That is not bigoted. That's not Islamophobic. That's not controversial. That has been American law for decades. The problem is, certainly under the Biden administration and his Department of Justice, we've just had never enforced the law before. So what Trump is doing is not something new or revolutionary. It's simply saying, well, we're going to enforce the laws that are already on the books here. So students and the American people should feel empowered to get involved. So ICE, the INA, the Department of Education, the Department of Justice, they have reporting mechanisms. You could find it on their websites. They have phone numbers that you can call in. And the American people should feel empowered to make sure that their institutions of higher learning, that their communities are safe. So if you know of a student who has violated the terms of their foreign visa, who have broken American law, who have assaulted or harassed Jewish students or any student on their college campus, on the streets, then you should feel empowered and a sense of civic responsibility to call those local agencies and make sure that they're aware of this problem. So I do think, especially with Trump's executive order last week, you are going to see action relatively quickly. The Department of Justice in particular knows of certain colleges where this is more of a problem than others, and you will see enforcement in those areas. And we hope that the deportations will begin quite promptly.
Excellent. That's really excellent news. And I'll make sure to put a link to those reporting mechanisms in the description of these videos below. And Shabbos, I just really want to thank you for the work that you've been doing with the Trump administration, helping link students to the general political process. Really, thank you so much. It's been wonderful watching you grow in this area.
Thank you for having me. All the best.
Thanks. All right, Shabbos, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Always nice talking to you. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, as it's going to help us grow. We have a lot of really cool speakers lined up for you in the next couple of days. I'm Gideon Askowitz, and this is 7 Minute Expert.